The Regency period, an era of glittering balls and scandalous secrets, was named after George, the Prince of Wales, who ruled as Prince Regent from 1811 to 1820. This prince was a living paradox, a man of exquisite taste yet prone to vulgar self-indulgence. He was celebrated as a patron of the arts, but widely disliked as a ruler. Known as the first gentleman of England, his extravagant lifestyle and scandalous personal life didn't just entertain, they defined the very culture of high society, fashion, excess, and social climbing. This was the world he created. This was the glittering yet often superficial world that Jane Austen so brilliantly satirized in her timeless novels. For much of his early life, George was merely a prince in waiting, constantly overshadowed by his father, King George III. Their relationship was famously strained. Where the pious king valued frugality and devotion, the prince was a notorious spendthrift, a gambler, and a womanizer. He constantly chafed under his father's strict moralistic thumb. In fact, his extravagant opposition to the king's staid court became a lifestyle all its own. Then the king's mental illness, now believed to have been porphyria, became permanent. In 1811, the Prince of Wales finally took power, not as king, but as Prince Regent. Despite all his personal flaws, the Prince Regent had an undeniable and profound impact on the culture of his era, especially through his genuine passion for art and architecture. He was a close friend and patron to society's tastemaker Beau Brummell. Together they redefined men's fashion, moving towards a new, understated elegance. His architectural legacy is truly impressive. He poured vast sums of money into redesigning iconic structures like Windsor Castle and Buckingham Palace. But his most famous and certainly most fantastical creation was the Royal Pavilion in Brighton. This seaside pleasure palace, with its riot of exotic interiors inspired by Indian and Chinese design, was the ultimate expression of his love for the opulent and the theatrical. It was his personal playground, a testament to his creative, if wildly extravagant, vision. The Prince Regent's personal life was a public spectacle, and nowhere was this more apparent than in his disastrous marriage to his cousin Caroline of Brunswick. He was essentially forced into this marriage in 1795, a condition for Parliament to pay off his enormous debts. From their very first meeting, the two were repulsed by each other. The wedding was no better. George reportedly drank himself into a stupor and spent his wedding night in a drunken heap on the floor. They separated shortly after the birth of their only child, Princess Charlotte. For years, George tried to rid himself of his wife, culminating in an infamous attempt to divorce her through an Act of Parliament after he became king. The Pains and Penalties Bill of 1820 effectively turned into a public trial, airing lurid details of both their lives for all to hear. The public, seeing Caroline as a victim, rallied to her side, turning the king into an object of widespread scorn. Throughout his life, the Prince Regent's spending was legendary. He was constantly in debt, and Parliament was repeatedly called upon to bail him out. His self-indulgent lifestyle, lavish parties, and extravagant building projects were a source of constant public anger, especially during the long and costly Napoleonic Wars, when the general populace suffered greatly. Caricaturists of the day, like James Gilray, mercilessly satirized him as a bloated, decadent figure, famously calling him a Prince of Wales, a stark symbol of his indifference to his people's suffering. The Prince Regent himself never appears in Jane Austen's novels, but his influence is undeniable. The culture of the ton that she so deftly critiqued, with its focus on fashionable society, pleasure-seeking, and social status, was a direct reflection of the court he cultivated. Think of the world of Brighton in Austen's Persuasion, with its fashionable officers and frivolous pursuits. It's a perfect microcosm of the Regent's own seaside resort. The moral emptiness Austen often exposed beneath polite society's veneer mirrored the public perception of the Prince Regent himself, a man of style and charm but with a profound lack of duty and moral substance. So, the Prince Regent's legacy is incredibly complex. On one hand, he was a brilliant patron of the arts, truly shaping the aesthetic of his age, but on the other, he was a selfish, profligate and deeply unpopular ruler. He truly was the flawed figurehead of a glittering yet contradictory era, an age of both elegance and excess, great art and great social inequality, an age that forever bears his name. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy exploring Austen's world and the Regency way, subscribe and join me for the next adventure.